Yeah, I do just want to have my stops at the fair value gap high. I feel like that would completely negate my trade idea. All right, so getting our entry here.
Order. Order submitted.
We'll see it just getting my first entry right at that volume imbalance that happened on the 15-minute time frame, right at that data release. Now I'm expecting that first 30 minutes of the open to hold this price action, and we continue down. We have our stops at the high of that fair value gap. So price wants to start trading back in this range, and this is going to be a manipulation leg. Then we get stopped out, and no harm, no foul on that trade. But at this point, definitely expecting price to continue down here for the 100 points and possibly a little bit further into that 50% of the previous daily candle, right? And price be retracing this range a little bit. But yeah, with my stop loss there, this basically says that I was wrong about the trade and that we are going for those daily highs at this point, or at that point if we get stopped out. But yeah, little weird price action today. Not gonna lie, weird. We'll see if we can get this trade to play out. I'm currently on a 5-day win streak though. It's pretty big. Caught a dub on a Monday, which is not very common as well. So trading's been on point lately. Past week or so. Again, just measuring out from that high point at the open down 100 points. So we reach that 100 point mark, I'll probably just go break even. Or if we break this low, right? We break that low, we start trading and closing below that low, probably just go break even and let the trade ride for the day. I'm already not really a fan of price action today. So if I get a freebie trade, if I can go break even on this and have no risk on the table, I would much rather prefer that, right? I think this week will have a little bit less opportunity than weeks prior, right? So yesterday, Monday's price action, we were getting a continuation basically of what happened last week, right? But we might not get clean moves like this, the rest of the week. Because like I said, if that weekly candle is going to consolidate, and be a cool off, if we're in a cool off period in the market, it's going to be a lot harder price action to trade, right? And price isn't going to run for targets as smoothly, right? So price might get down here today, but it could take all day. You know what I'm saying? And a good sign that the market's moving very slow is, between the hours of 9:30 a.m. they open and 11 if we've only moved 80 points, you know the market's slow, right? Because as of lately, we've been easily moving 100 points between the hours of 9:30 and 11 every day. So if we're not reaching down here, or we're not moving 100 points to the upside, you know what I mean? You know that price action is a little slow for the day. Yep. Just expecting a continuation. Just expecting that continuation from this 9:30 drop, right? This is a 4-hour power of 3. That's all it is, right? Just getting in while that candle is green and letting price run to the target. So there's that 100-point level that I talk about. Randy, you feeling a little discouraged? What's going on, brother? I know you were on a big win streak, bro. I know you were winning like crazy. So 1 week losing streak. So this is what I was talking about. I was trying to explain to you, but I mean, obviously you're going to go through it yourself, but you know, that period where you were hot, you know, you were calling tops, calling bottoms, like you were really hot during that time. That's when you need to be like the most cautious, right? Because your confidence level is going through the roof. You know, you feel like you're master of the market at that point, and then world comes crashing down when you go on a losing streak. You know, because I went through the same stuff a couple months ago, where you know you get a little bit on a high horse. You know, like right now I'm on a 5-day win streak. You know, feeling a little bit more confident, but that's where you got to be like extra cautious and protecting that downside risk still, and not like deviating from your system and still just following the same protocol every day as if you didn't make that money. You know, because the same thing, like when you're on a losing streak, it's on a winning streak, right? You start to get overconfident and you start taking setups that you don't normally take because you are a little bit more confident, right? Feel like you're a wizard. But, you know, that's why I think, you know, just managing risk and staying disciplined is king. You know, because you're going to take setups that are outside of your model, right? We're not robots. Yeah, it's tough, bro. That's why I say like models, it's very, very hard to trade a consistent model because when you pattern trade, the market is consistently changing, right? My strategy that was working really, really, really good in March, April, May, where we were running for low resistance liquidity in the opposite direction. When the market's ranging back and forth and taking liquidity often, that's when my strategy really, really works, right? Really, really well. But in current market conditions where the market has just been straight up, right? That's where my strategy is not working as much because it's not running for the opposing side of liquidity. It's just running, it's just trending straight up, right? So you have to understand the different market conditions that you're in is going to affect your strategy. Just because you have a model or a pattern that you look for every day, it doesn't mean it's going to be a 80% win rate every week, right? One week it could be a 20% win rate, and the next week it could be a 100% win rate, you know? But it's like that's why I say risk management and discipline are the only things that you could really have in your control, in your complete control, because your strategy is not foolproof. Nobody's strategy is foolproof. Models aren't foolproof, you know, because at the end of the day, if you trade a model, it is a pattern. You know, you're just looking for the same pattern in the market. But if you came to the market every day and you had one trade idea and you were just like, okay, I think price is going to go here, and you take a trade based on that, right? You take that trade, win or lose, or maybe you cut your risk early, you cut your trade early, you manage your risk, and you just walk away and come back the next day for cleaner price action. I promise, like, a lot of people would have so much more success just by doing that, simplifying it. Trading is the one thing where if you do more work, if you work harder, you're going to be less successful. The more time, the more energy you stare at these charts, if you're looking at the charts all day, you are not going to be successful doing that. You're going to take 10 trades a day. You're not going to be able to journal all that. You're not going to be able to write down all your emotions that you felt in that trade. You're going to have multiple trade ideas. You know, but you know, sometimes you do go on these winning streaks and it gives you confidence, and then you go on the losing streak and you question everything and you start deviating from your system, you start changing your risk, changing your strategy. You know what I mean? The biggest battle with trading is within yourself. It's not finding a strategy, it's not the risk management, it's not discipline, it's just a battle with yourself every single day, every single day. But you know, I tend to keep my trading very, very simple, right? Like especially lately, I come to the market and I'm looking to see where price is going to move 100 points, right? So from the top here, we had market open, price comes up from the top of this point to the bottom, that would be 100 points. So where can I catch 100 points in the market every single day between 9:30 and 11? That's the hours I'm looking at the chart. That's the hours I'm streaming with you guys. Where can I catch that point, that trade? And you know, where can I put my stop loss that's in a valid spot if I'm wrong, right? If price wants to come up 100 points in the next 40 minutes, you know, my stop loss is above a fair value gap, above a fair value gap, and stop it, and it's managed risk, right? I don't have a full $200 on the table. I only have like $170 on the table. Granted, that's only $30, but you know, when you add that up over 100 trades, 100 times 30, that's 3 grand that you saved just by managing risk on one trade. And you keep that going, right? You keep that going over time. That's why I think, you know, a lot of traders, they get too confined on one trading day, or one specific idea, when trading is about weeks, months, years. Like, you got to stay in it for the long haul. One bad trade or one bad day shouldn't like determine your whole career as a trader. But it's very bad in today's world too. Like, we are programmed for short form content, right? Short form content and like instant results. You know what I mean? It's very hard, the way our brains are wired in today's day and age, to stick to something for, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 6 months. You know what I mean? It's ever changing, especially with like social media and stuff. You see things on social media, you want to change your strategy and you want to be like this other trader. But, back to your point though, I mean, you're going to have losing weeks. You're going to have winning weeks. You're going to have losing streaks. But what happens during those losing streaks are the most important, right? Because winning streaks are winning streaks. You're making money, great. But on those losing streaks, are you blowing up? Like, are you over trading, revenge trading, doing all the wrong mistakes? Or are you just on a losing streak with your system? You're taking one or two trades every single day, and every single one of them are failing. You know what I mean? But you are following your system. You're managing risk. You're staying disciplined. You're only taking those one trades or two trades, whatever. But if you're on a losing streak and you're not following your system or not following your rules, that's when it becomes a problem, right? Because then you have no data to go off of. You're just coming to the market and gambling, right? Because that's all it comes down to. But if you're doing everything in your control, there's nothing you can do. You can just show up and do the same thing every day. But yeah, that's my rant. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I know exactly how it feels though, Randy. I know, man. And I'm sure a lot of other traders here, have felt the same thing. You go through that high, but especially when you're trading live funds, bro. I mean, you put your own money on the line, you're going to feel that 100%. Yeah, I feel that, Jofer. I mean, you guys see me go through red days, man. I sit here every day and I stream all my trades. You know what I mean? And you guys see me go through losses, go through red days, take dumb trades, I've taken some stupid ass trades on stream. Like, and I'll be the first to admit that. But like, what I understand about trading, it's not about that, that one bad trade that you took. It's how you react to that. Did you manage your risk, and did you, stay disciplined enough not to take any more trades for the rest of the day? Because you're going to take bad setups. You're going to take bad setups and you're going to look stupid sometimes. I could have took this trade right here and it could have instantly ran for stop loss, and then I look like an idiot. You know what I mean? But it could also run right down here and you look like a genius. That's the thing about trading. It's The market is out of your control. It's going to do what it wants, right? At the end of the day, you can't control what this market does. But I can control this. I can control that right there. My stop loss, I can control this. How many contracts I have on. And I can go up here and I can press the X button after, you know, I can close my chart for the day. I can control that after I take this trade. You know what I'm saying? Those are things in your control. I can't control what's going to happen on this chart right now. And the sooner you realize that as a trader, the easier it becomes. Losses are going to happen. The market's going to do what it wants, and you just come to the market every day and you just do your job. This is very much a job. If I gave you a job right now to make $200,000 to sit at the chart every day and risk the same amount, only take one trade and look for 100 points in a direction, would you do it? Would you get paid $200,000 a year to do that? To follow 3 rules? You know what I mean? If you start treating your trading like that, like your actual job, give yourself performance reviews and stuff, give yourself a promotion, you know what I mean? But that's just being like super hypothetical. But yeah, I'm just kind of ranting because price is in this consolidation here. Not too much going on. But I am looking for this 100 points right here. Yeah, ES has really stayed in this range as well. It's very consolidating. We did have a closure above that volume imbalance there on the 15-minute time frame. We'll see if this 4-hour candle wants to be completely bullish. Because, I mean, that is a possibility as well, right? Like we have a situation like what happened here yesterday. But yeah, like I said, I mean, risk is intact. We have a safe stop loss, so. Yeah, 1 minute looks pretty bad, I'm not gonna lie. 1 minute looks awful. You're back. I'm gonna use the restroom. All right, we're back. Hmm. Okay. So had another 30-minute candle closure there. And I like how we just had like a little consolidation here. So expecting one last push to the downside for that 100 points at market open. But if not, and price starts to make its way up here, inverting this fair value gap and trading higher, which is fine. Being wrong about price action for the day, just move on, take the L. Yeah, the more we consolidate here too, the more I'm leaning towards, lower prices. The more I am leaning for this 3 standard deviation to get hit. Because the thing is, when we trade into these standard deviations, right, I'm expecting these to be manipulation levels, right, where price bounces off of and V-shaped recoveries really hard, right? But if we trade down to this level and we consolidate, that tells me we're going to make a move down to the next level, right? And then maybe we consolidate again, move down to the next level, and then we sharp V-shaped recovery, right? This is where I would expect this move right here is where I would expect a reversal, right? Something like that off of one of these levels. But as you can see, we're trading down, right? We're trading down and we're holding price. We're holding price in this consolidation. And we're expecting another leg to the downside to this 3 standard deviation. Price is not showing us that it wants to be bullish at this point, right? There's no signs of being bullish. We're trading down into this 2 standard deviation. We are manipulating out of this accumulation range, but we're not V-shaped recovering, right? We're not V-shaped recovering out of this 2 standard deviation or this 1 standard deviation. We're coming down, we're consolidating. All that's telling me is that price wants to go lower. We're just engineering some liquidity beforehand. That's all I'm seeing. Mm. But yeah, at this point, we got 25 minutes until 11 a.m. Like I said, I am expecting price to move that 100 points, but as of now, we've only got 80. Something I'm still looking for in the next 25 minutes. So very similar situation to yesterday, but in the opposite fashion. Is yesterday we saw price, we were a neutral bias, right? neutral bias going into yesterday. And we waited for the first 30 minutes to kind of show where price wanted to go. Right? Price showed us that it wanted to be bullish. So we waited, got a retest of that fair value gap, and rode that higher for 100 points. Now today, we're doing the same thing, right? We let the first 30 minutes to show its hand, what price wanted to do. And we got in on that 15-minute volume imbalance. But the only thing is with this is price is consolidating now, right? Yesterday, we did not have that consolidation. Price just ran straight for the target. So very, very similar price action to yesterday in terms of what we're looking for. But the way it's playing out is not the same. But very similar first 30 minutes of price action. But yeah, you guys know this is like the most dreaded price action is consolidation during 10 a.m. I hate this. Ever since 10 a.m. rolled around, all we've been doing is consolidating. And that's my prime hour where I'm looking for price to run for liquidity, right? Yeah, we also have sell side liquidity down here from the AM session yesterday, but it's kind of whatever, right? I'd be more so looking at the equilibrium from this move from yesterday and that 4 standard deviation. So it kind of lines up perfectly. So we do have that 30-minute fair value gap that price could tap into. Ideally, that's probably what you would want to see, a nice little manipulation above that level into that 30-minute fair value gap, and then price to come back in the range, right? And start trading down for the last 20 minutes of 10 a.m. But yeah, there's a lot of noise here on the 1 minute time frame. A lot of noise. Not very clean here. But if you were trying to take trade setups in this range, you're definitely getting cooked, right? Because this is where you don't want to be trying to trade fair value gaps and trade order blocks and trade SMT. You don't want to be trying to trade every single little fair value gap that you see in this consolidation range because you're just going to get cooked back and forth. So price not really wanting to trade it into that fair value gap at in the first 10 minutes of this 30-minute candle. Ideally, I would have liked to see price trade above this high, tap into this fair value gap, and then start trading lower. But not quite getting that. We'll see if these next 5 minutes gives it, but getting closer to that 11 a.m. mark where I would want to see price move to at least this level. But yeah, like I said, a lot smaller of a range today, a lot more weird price action. You know, all of this accumulation overnight is kind of weird for sure. All right, so tapping in to that 30-minute fair value gap, see if we get that reaction we're talking about. So yeah, manipulating up, retesting that pre-market low as well. Now, if we're thinking of this as accumulation, right? Price is going to manipulate out of this area and then distribute down here. So let's see if that power of 3 actually plays out. As you can see, that's a wick up into this 30-minute fair value gap and that 15-minute fair value gap. Still bearish. Still bearish on price action. So yeah, that move just got completely inverted. We had an inverse fair value gap there for him. It's a really good 1-minute model here. Accumulation, manipulation, inverse fair value gap, distribution now to the downside. Now after that manipulation, trying to make a decision if I want to add another contract here. After that manipulation. But yeah, like I talked about before, stop loss is in a valid spot. I didn't want to put my stop loss too close, right? Because there is a possibility price can come up and manipulate just like we did, right? We manipulate above these highs. So I have my safe stop loss way up here to completely be wrong about the trade idea. Now we got the 1050 macro coming up. I am expecting price to continue down here. So might be making one more entry. Might have one more contract on the table. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to add another contract here.
Order filled.
And I'm going to adjust my stop. So my risk is intact here. I'm going to have my stop at this manipulation high at this point. This is confirming to me that price wants to trade lower at this point, that manipulation leg. Now, if we trade back above that manipulation leg, that's where I'm wrong about price action, and I don't want to touch it for the rest of the day, right? I'm not going to switch my bias and start trading for this daily high. I just let it go for the day. So in the next 12 minutes, expecting this low to be ran, and then probably go break even and look for that 100 points, that final move. And then decide if I want to take profit at that point or not. So price still consolidating here. So 1050 macro coming in. Everything's kind of lining up perfectly for it to sweep that low, in my opinion. The way I'm reading the market right now. Just expecting that 30-minute candle to continue to the downside here. after trading into that fair value gap. And then that would be the 4-hour candle flipping as well. I don't even think this volume imbalance was a valid PD array, honestly, where I got my entry. Like in hindsight, I'm looking at it and I'm saying I don't even think this was a valid entry right here, or a valid PD array, because price is acting very weird around it, right? So yeah, so getting closer to this 11 a.m. mark where I really start to question if I want to be in the trade anymore. So usually between, 10:30, 11 is when I want to see targets getting hit, or, I look to close trades and wrap it up for the day. So we'll see what this last 5-minute candle wants to do. Not trading today, Alex. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. You got Powell speaking later. We had Trump speaking. But yeah, like I said, we have this accumulation expecting price to just make one more leg down to the downside, complete that 100-point move, and just wrap up shop for the day, right? And I mean, honestly, at this point, maybe even just taking profit at this low if we run this low, because we're not seeing big price action, big moves outside of that first 30 minutes. And this is what I talked about. You guys remember I was talking about in the early on in the session that we might just get this big move, and then price just kind of consolidates and maybe trickles down here for the rest of the day. Maybe, right? It's just kind of one of those days. But I can tell you right now, like you look at this 1 minute time frame, this is not clean price action, obviously. Obviously not. So yeah, without the candle flipping, we're not getting that candle flip and start to trade down lower. If we trade somewhere in this range, I'll probably end up closing my trade because I don't want 11 a.m. to come up and trade into this fair value gap at this point, right? If we close and we're consolidating in this range, there's a possibility price comes up and trades into this fair value gap and stops me out. So at that point, it's just better to not to be in the trade. Yeah, and that looks like a possibility at this point because we got that manipulation, right? We got that manipulation that we are looking for, and price is not making that follow through that we are looking for. Still got 3 minutes on this candle. See what price wants to do. If we come back through, invert this 1 minute fair value gap. All right, price is making its way back down. Yeah, I think I'm going to tighten up this take profit here. Just look to see if we can catch another leg to the downside. A simple just 1-to-1 at this point. Not really looking for a lot of profit. Just one more move down into this 3 standard deviation. I think that's the only thing I should be looking for at this point, just because this price action is moving very slow today. We're approaching that 11 a.m. mark and we're not moving that 100 points. So very, very slow price action. Small range day. But, you know, it's days like these where, like I used to blow up my accounts. I used to blow up my accounts trading in this range, right? And I'm sure a lot of you guys have as well, trying to get short and then get long and get short again. You're just getting chopped up in this range for an hour, right? You have a breakout here, you have a breakout here, you have fair value gap here, you got a fair value gap here. You can get so chopped up in this range, you know. So being able to tell when price action is going to do this and when you're in a not so favorable day, right, of trading, that's going to eliminate a lot of your losses as well. Is being able to realize when you're in this chop, when you're in this mess, right? And not taking 10 trades in this accumulation, getting all chopped up. That's why I say focus on one trade idea as well, because if you focus on one trade idea, like where is price going for the whole day, not just like in a small span. If you just focus on where price is going for the day, and that's your only idea, then you'll be better off as well. Because then price can chop around all at once, right? Like, because you're still focused on price coming down here for the end of the day, right? But yeah, I got some trend line liquidity down here. Let's see if price wants to just slam through it. Now, I am expecting if we start breaking these lows, it's going to be pretty quick, in my opinion, especially since 11 a.m. just rolled around. I don't want to hold this trade much longer. I really don't. So I want to see price move down here, like probably within the first, 30 minutes of 11 a.m. All right, Jofer. I'll catch you later, bro. Take it easy, bro. All right, so breaking some of this trend line liquidity. See if price wants to start breaking this low. It's very close, right? Mm. Mm. Yeah, so we've been holding this trade about an hour now. Holding through choppiness is rough. That's for sure. Let's see if we can finish taking some of this trend line liquidity. Trade through those lows. Now we did have SMT here with NQ and ES, right? ES taking those lows, NQ is not. A lot of waiting today, a lot of patience. Mm. Price slowly getting down there. Slowly getting down there. All right, so ES taking those lows again. NQ trying to take those lows. Swept some sell side liquidity here. Hmm. Yeah, I might be closing this soon, fellas, because been holding this in an hour of consolidation. Definitely wears on you, huh? Yeah, at that point, definitely expected that low to be ran. So very slow price action today. Yeah, it's pretty bad today, man. It is pretty bad today. Pretty slow. Really, really slow. Yeah, something we did talk about though. It was something we talked about at the beginning of the stream that price action could do this for the day. This was something that was kind of expected. Now, at this point, price wants to continue higher. It's going to trade into that hourly fair value gap. Chop City. Chop City. Now getting more manipulation above this high. Let's see if this high wants to get ran and it takes us out of this trade. But at this point, I don't like the way that first 15-minute candle looks here on the hourly. We can't get below that hourly low. It's kind of looking like we want to get out of this trade, to be honest, because price isn't supporting. And this is the first time in a while where we don't see price move 100 points, right? In the first hour and a half. We usually always see price at least move that in the first like 2 hours of the open. So definitely slow price action today. Not sure if I want to be a part of it anymore. Might just close this trade early and wrap it up. A lot of back and forth though. You can see all this liquidity getting taken. We sweep a low here, sweep a low, sweep a high, come back, sweep a high, sweep this low. We're just really, really back and forth right now, seek and destroy mode in this consolidation range. Very hard to trust this price action. Hmm. See what price wants to do here after sweeping this high. If we come back for the lows here, that could be our or just easy out of this trade. I haven't held a trade this long for a while though. It's been a minute since I held a trade this long. Over an hour now. It's kind of looking like price wants to continue higher at this point though. Might get chopped out of this trade. Yeah, I'm gonna call it there.
Order filled.
I'm gonna call it there. I'm gonna take that loss right there. And essentially this was what I was looking for. I'll screenshot this. At this point, I'm pretty sure price will come back and hit my stop loss with price ranging like this. But yeah, I don't really want to be in this trade anymore. And that's going to wrap it up for me. Definitely held that trade a lot longer than I wanted to. Just taking a small loss on that day, on today. And that ends our winning streak. Had a 5-day win streak, but came to an end. But it's all good. We're not stressing. But all right, guys, I am going to head out. I'm gonna get some food, and yeah, just stay off the charts for the rest of the day because this is not favorable price action, right? We talked about it in the beginning of the session, but luckily we didn't take too big of a loss today. All right, but I'll be around in the chat if you guys need me. Just let me know, and yeah, we'll be back at it again tomorrow. Peace out, guys.